Well, welcome everybody. It's my great pleasure today to introduce you to Michael. Michael is somebody with an amazing story to tell. He has survived over 20 years of diabetes, also survived a heart attack. He's a person of deep faith. He's got over 73 years of life experience and wisdom. And his story, I'm sure you're going to find very inspirational and encouraging. So, Michael, it's great to have you here today. And thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Larry. I'm looking forward to this.
Yeah, I'm just going to hand over to Michael and let him share his story and sit back, grab a coffee, and enjoy Michael's story because it's worth listening to. Thank you, Michael.
Okay. Way back in 1990, I was married for 15 years, have four children, two boys and two girls. And being an Irishman, I developed a bad habit of drinking alcohol. And eventually, I became very dependent upon it. And as a result of that, my marriage was failing. And I was ashamed of what I became at the time. And I looked for help. And of course, there's none, there was no answers. And so I called out to God. I believe in God at the time. And miraculously, the Lord answered. I picked up a leaflet in my mailbox and it said, "Who is God, the one who answers?" So I went along to one of those gospel meetings, and there was ordinary people there, just like you and me, Larry, and they were singing, and I quite enjoyed it. And anyway, to cut a long story short, I got baptized by full immersion,
Yeah.
received the Holy Spirit, spoke in tongues, and my life completely changed. My marriage was healed. My children began to like me again, and it was remarkable. And that experience changed my life. My drinking habit instantly changed, and I stopped smoking, and so on. And going on in life as you do, going to church every Sunday, and after meeting so many new friends, and my life suddenly took a turn in 1993. I got cancer, and I had 6 months off work, and I miraculously came through that situation. The Lord looked after me, and but the problem with the cancer that I had, the prognosis was that it can come back with a
Mm.
vengeance, and so it did in 2014. I got another tumor, and my surgeon said to me, "We have to send you in for, immediate surgery," and so on and so forth. And in my case, it was keyhole surgery, and I went for the procedure, and they couldn't find a tumor. The Lord healed me, and
Mm.
in the same year, uh, about 6 months later, I went blind in this eye here, my right eye, and I was told that eventually I would lose complete sight of that eye because of my diabetes. And again, the Lord, I was remarkably healed from that. Um, so in 2016, I retired. Uh, uh, Saw my children grow up and get married, and I have four children, seven grandchildren, and two great grandchildren. And life is beautiful. It's wonderful. Retired in 2016. 2018, we decided we'd travel around Australia, and we did. And in 2019, we got locked down in Perth while we were visiting there. And anyway, eventually we made our way around, and we ended up in Townsville in 2019, 2020. And that's when my life took a turn for the worst. I got, I have it written down here. diverticulosis. Is that how you pronounce it? Anyway,
Yeah. Mm.
yeah, and I got that, and I had itchy feet. My blood pressure went right through the roof, and my A1C for my diabetes went up to 14. And they were quite worried about me there. The doctors, I was already on medication uh, for being a diabetic, and they wanted to put me on metformin, and I did. I started taking metformin, and but my condition wasn't improving at all. And
Mm.
like way back in 1990, I called out to the Lord as you do, and I prayed about it. And I went out of frustration. I just YouTube diabetes or something,
Yeah.
and this guy came up, Jason Fong, and I was absolutely amazed at what he was saying and the stuff that he was saying about the food we eat.
Mm.
I was eating well according to my doctor. I mean, I wasn't. I was eating rolled oats in the morning, with manuka honey and you know fruit and banana and blueberries. That sort of a breakfast. And at lunchtime was sandwich, whatever, and meal was vegetables and all the vegetables and and a sweet after the meal as you would.
Yeah.
But to me, that was a normal diet. My doctor and dietitian said, "Yeah, no, that's fine." I used to go swimming, go for long walks, and I thought I was sort of keeping on top of this diabetes, but it wasn't. So Jason Fong, listening to Jason, um, I began to realize that I think I've been hoodwinked all these years. And so I adopted the intermittent fasting and eating one meal a day. I fasted right through the day and ate one meal in the evening. I still ate vegetables and meat and um, bit of ice cream, here and there.
Mm.
But I was losing weight. And by December, that was in August, and by December, I went back to see my doctor. My A1C was normal. I don't know whether it was 5.4 or 4.5, but it
Yeah.
was normal. And he was amazed. And it turned out that he said to me, how did you do this? And I said, I intermittent fast, and I listened to Jason Fong and did all these things. And it turned out that he's a Muslim man, and he said in his community that diabetes was very minimal because of their way of life and how they fast at Ramadan and so on and so forth. And anyway, we stayed in Townsville for quite a while, and we moved. We started as the COVID thing started to lift and uh, borders started opening up. We started to move back home down to Ballarat, and we got here in I think it was June or July, June 2021,
Mhm.
and we settled back home and continued living and going to church and meeting friends and all that sort of life, and things were going really well. I was feeling really good. And then all of a sudden, I started to get gout really bad in both feet.
Mm.
And I didn't know. My doctor said, "Oh, it's definitely gout," but I had my doubts. And anyway, I battled through all of that on and off for till 2023, August 2023. This around this time last year, I got heartburn, and I remember getting heartburn when I was in my 20s,
Mm.
and I I know the feeling, and I thought, oh, I've got heartburn. And the next day, got heartburn again. And all that week, I was getting, oh, this heartburn. I went to the chemist and I got some of those over the counter tablets for heartburn and sucked on them, nothing. So on a Tuesday, I went to see my doctor and I said to him, Henry, I've got this heartburn thing going on here. Can you give me something for it? He said, Michael, I don't think this is heartburn. I think this is a bit more serious. And I wasn't taking him very serious. I was actually laughing at him, you know. I said, it's only heartburn. Anyway, he said, lie down there. And they got me on an GCG, wired me up. And he said, Michael, you're having a heart attack. Anyway, I got into the hospital. And in the hospital, I'm like the way I am with you, Larry. I'm just, you know, I'm relaxed and happy, being myself, you know. And they brought me in, took a blood sample, and left the catheter thing in my arm, put me back out in the waiting room, and I was sitting in the waiting room for probably 2 hours or something, and I'm thinking, what's going on? Anyway, the next thing I'm surrounded by two nurses and a stretcher, and they're lifting me on, get me on the stretcher. Get up here, Mr. Shiels. You're having a heart attack. And they wheeled me into the operating or into the I'm getting excited now. So I better slow down a little bit here. They brought me into the emergency, and the guy, one of the nurses, came up to me, and there was she introduced me to this heart specialist, and the heart specialist says to me, Mr. Shiels, you're having a heart attack and you need to take this serious. And I said, no. I said, it's only heartburn. It's, you know, I still believed it was only heartburn. I had no real pain, you know, that I could say, oh, you know, anyway, they came back with the blood test. And the blood test said, you're, I have it written down here because I'm not very good at remembering things. Troponin, TROPONIN.
Yeah.
I think the normal is around 25 or 30. Mine was 2,674. Now, at the time, I had no idea what that was, you know. Anyway, they got me up into intensive care, and I realized afterwards that they were expecting me to have a major cardiovascular event, you know, and have a major heart attack. They got me up there, got me into intensive care, put me on whatever, and the next morning they brought me down to have an angiogram, and went down, had the angiogram, and just had peeped around the curtain and said, Mr. Shiels, you need a triple bypass. So 3 days later, I ended up in Melbourne in the one of the major hospitals there in Melbourne. I've forgotten what it was now. The Royal Melbourne, yeah. And on the Tuesday, they brought me down. I had a quadruple bypass, and it was intensive care for 5 days. And I came out of the hospital. I was there for a total of 8 days, and I was discharged, sent home. And I have to say, you know, my children, my four children, they're all adults now, have their own children. One of them is a grandfather, grandmom, and they were absolutely marvelous, just wonderful. The way they came and looked after me, and you know, they came and stayed here at my home on a rotary basis, looking after me and my wife, because my wife has the delayed effects of polio, and she had other issues, and she couldn't look after me. But my children came to the fore for that, and I had a wonderful recovery. It's about a week now, a year and a week. I'm over the heart surgery, and I'm feeling extremely well. But in January of this year, we came across the carnivore diet, and we started to seriously. We did look at it before, but we started to seriously look at it uh, again, and we both decided we'll do this. Because I'd realized that all the vegetables that I was eating, all the fruit that I was eating, it was causing problems with my gout, I believe,
Mm.
and uh, loxalates, is it?
Yep.
Loxalate dump. I
Hmm.
think that's what I was going through at the time. Anyway, we went to the cupboard in the kitchen as you do, and we took other people's advice on YouTube, and we got rid of all the rolled oats and the all anything with sugar in it or anything
Yeah.
that will turn carbohydrates. We got rid of it all into the
Hmm.
bin, and we started eating meat only. And you know, it's absolutely amazing. I'm a new man, really. Compared to what I was before, I've got more energy. I can sit and like if I'm an elder in the church, and I sometimes I have to sit down and get a get some words together and do a bit of a talk on the Bible, and it would take me a whole day, before, and I go boom, fall asleep at the computer and all these sorts of things. Now, a couple of hours, and I'm right,
Yeah.
and no brain fog. I didn't understand what brain fog was, but now I understand
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
your brain is full of carbohydrates. It's full of all that sugar, and you know playing havoc with your body. Anyway, um, we haven't looked back. We are now enjoying eating meat. Um, it's easy.
Mm.
It's not. You don't have to get all these vegetables and peel the potatoes. And I love my potatoes, by the way. And we don't. It's easy now, and just put on a few chops. I love bacon and eggs. I never used to eat bacon because you know what the Bible says about bacon. It's an unclean food. But
Yeah.
of course, in the New Testament it says, "No, don't call anything that I've made unclean." So uh, make get with the program, start eating bacon and eggs, and so and so I had some bacon. I eat bacon and eggs a lot. I love them, and I like lamb. I love lamb,
Mm.
but I used to eat fish, but for some reason I don't feel like eating it. And the
Yeah.
same the same with chicken. I don't. No, I don't think I'll have chicken. I'll just stick with the meat. So you find out things about yourself, and
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, you find out like what your body is uh, craving for.
Mm.
And of
Mm.
course the fats. My goodness, do you remember back in the 50s when I was raised in Dublin, my mother used to throw the bread in the frying pan. Fry the bread in the fat, and we used to eat it, and in the 70s we were told, no, don't eat that, you'll
Mm.
die of a heart attack. Well, I stopped eating it, and I still got a heart attack. So there you go, Larry. That's my story.
Oh, Michael, that's an amazing journey, and I didn't have anywhere near the struggles with health that you had, but I can identify with so much of the story, and certainly the lifting of the brain fog and the clarity. For me, it's probably one of the biggest benefits of the carnivore diet. Now, you've mentioned we a few times. Is your wife joining you on this diet?
Yes, Margaret is on the diet, and her health has improved greatly.
Oh, that's right. And what do your kids think about it?
Um, oh, Dad's doing this other thing now, because I'm a bit like that,
Yeah,
I'm a bit off the. I'm not a regular guy in the sense that I can go down like I don't follow the crowd, if you know what I mean.
yeah, yeah,
Well, I don't follow the crowd. I'll do the alternative. So my kids know that's what I'm like. So oh, Dad's doing this other thing now. So it's 6 months or more, and they can see the improvement.
yeah. Mm,
One day they will admit to it. They are
yeah, yeah,
sort of curious enough. So, but my friends in church, you know, we go to church on Sunday at 2 o'clock, and then at about 4 o'clock, we finish. We all have a cup of coffee and a cup of tea, and there's cakes and there's
yeah,
party pies, and all laid out on the table there, and we're all having fellowship, and they're all eating the food. And Michael, you're not eating anything. No, no, no. I'm on a carnivore diet. I couldn't eat that stuff now. And they go, oh yeah, right, okay, all right, And so I, I've I look at the table. That's just poison for me.
yeah,
I
yeah,
I, I have it sort of ingrained in my head that if I take one bite, I'm hooked again.
yeah.
I don't want to. I don't want to do that.
Mm,
And so it's
mm,
getting easier and easier. It was hard. I have to
mm,
say that it's hard,
mm.
but now it's getting easier. And now I just totally ignore it, and I just have a cup of coffee.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
And or a glass of water or something like that.
Yes, yes. I'm the same. We go to a small house church that meets in a cafe, and every time they meet, it starts with a meal, and invariably the meal is something I can't eat, and I just sit there with a glass of water, and it felt very weird at first, but now nobody even bats an eyelid anymore, and they just accept it, and I found if I don't make a big fuss of it, then neither will they, and at the end of the day, people don't care what you eat.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
exactly, yeah. It's
yeah,
eating. It's interesting. You know, um, when you're with a group of people and you're having a good time, you're having great conversations and just enjoying their company and so on and so forth. And food is like it becomes part of it, and without even thinking, you start putting
mm,
it in your mouth, and you just keep
yes,
eating. And
yeah,
and
yeah,
that was the thing I had to break,
yeah,
and learn. No, I don't need that stuff. So
yeah,
I've turned up on a Sunday with a little round container with some patties in it.
yeah, yeah,
It's some mince burgers or whatever.
yeah. It just
And
requires a little bit of thinking ahead, and you can do it.
yeah, yeah, and I just stand there and munch, and it's just food to them. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah. Food is so much a part of our culture. Anytime people gather, whether it's for church or work or families or weddings or any gathering of any sort, almost always involves food. And but I found that not eating or eating very little at those events um, gives you an opportunity to focus more on the people. And I think, well, I'm not focusing on the food and taking notice of what I'm eating. I can focus on people and connecting and talking to new people and so forth. And that's been a great blessing for me. But
yeah,
Michael, I wanted to go back and talk a little bit about faith, if I could.
yeah,
Um, the I've discovered in the carnivore diet that it starts off, well, it did for me anyway, just about what I eat. It was just a way of eating. But over time, and I think for me, round about the 3 month mark, I began to see that it also brought mental clarity that we've spoken of and a calmness in your life, a a kind of a doing away with anxiety and stress. And that, of course, in turn leads to the spiritual dimension and spirituality and looking at your life in the bigger picture of why are we here and what am I on this planet to do and what is life all about, which leads into some of those spiritual questions. And for me, that's been quite a revelation with something that just started with changing what I eat. But I'm just wondering, in your experience, you've mentioned several times about prayer, and yet you're also a person who studies and reads books and watches videos and takes action. So, could you talk a little bit more about the connection of faith and taking action yourself in life and how it all fits together?
Well, you mentioned I've been diagnosed with depression way back uh, from an experience I had in the Middle East. I won't go into all the details, but and the way it happens for me, depression. The way it happens is I could be sitting out here on the veranda and enjoying the sunshine and reading a book or listening to some music, and all of a sudden, just something happens, and I'd start crying,
Mm, mm,
and you can't stop it,
mm,
right? And I've had that for um, 40 years,
mm,
over 40 years now, going on. We're married 50 years,
mm,
Rita and I, Margaret and I, and um, I've had that for a long time. And I don't know what the triggers were. I don't know if it's a smell or the heat or
mm.
something I read, or I don't know. But since I've been on the carnivore diet, I haven't had one incident of depression.
Amazing.
Not one.
Mm,
I've
mm,
had counselling for in 2000. I was 2015. I've had counselling for a whole year. Twice a month or something like that. And I went through everything they asked me to go through. I refused. I did take the medication, but then I took myself off it. I didn't want to do it.
mm,
But that's one of the first things that I noticed about carnivore. My depression went
mm.
immediately, and
Wonderful.
it's
Mm,
just incredible, you know. And the other thing you mentioned too about prayer. Well, yeah, the Lord's provided for me, and I've been miraculously healed of things. But what I've noticed when I was in Townsville, and I have a lot of friends in Townsville. We've got a church. There's a church group up there as well, and we
mm,
connect with them. And what I noticed when I go up for prayer, as you do, you ask your pastor or an elder in the church, can I have some prayer? I've got this problem with diabetes and so on. And I was going up there and I'm praying about my diabetes, and then I'd go home and eat a cake. You know what I mean?
yeah, yeah, exactly.
You like you have to work it out, right? You have to figure out why am I like this, and why am I not being healed of this? Maybe I need to look at something else. And so I think that's the Lord leads you. He directs your paths,
Mm,
doesn't he? And
mm.
he led me to Jason Fong in that desperation. The Lord,
Yeah,
look on
yeah,
YouTube.
yeah,
Chafee, Dr. Chafee, and all of those. They're amazing, by the way. I admire
yeah,
them. I
yeah.
mean, they're going against the grain in
Yes,
our society.
and
So
sometimes at great cost.
yeah.
Mm,
And so
mm,
sometimes the Lord is answering your prayer, but you're not paying
yeah,
attention.
Yeah.
It's like when you drive your car, it's a bit sluggish, you know.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'll do it next week, and eventually it breaks down. So we've got to look after ourselves. And yeah, I, interesting, Dr. Chafee has mentioned this, and he said, we're the only species on the planet that would put anything in our mouth
Yeah.
if it's told it's food. You know, we've been hoodwinked into thinking that all the middle aisles in the supermarket, that's all good food and it's good for you. Well, it's not good for you. It's bad
Mm,
for you.
mm.
I don't go down the vegetable aisle, just the dairy and the meat, and that's about it, you know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and it's but the power of prayer is not
Mm,
to be it's not it's not to be dismissed in the sense that, oh, the Lord doesn't answer. Well, the Lord is answering. It's just you're not paying attention, you know,
mm,
and
mm,
try and listen and learn
mm,
your
mm.
body. Mm,
Yes,
mm.
because inside of you is a wonderful counselor who speaks and gives advice and direction.
The
And
comforter. Yeah.
that's a
Mm.
small voice within you that I think anybody can experience if they be still and listen.
Yes.
There is that system, yeah. And I love that balance of prayer and action. I think of the story in the Bible of Nehemiah. Um, he was a prisoner of war, and he went back to his country to rebuild a wall around the city.
Mm,
And some people didn't want the wall built, and they made physical threats of violence. And when he got those physical threats, it says in Nehemiah that he prayed to God about it, and he set a guard.
mm.
So he
That,
didn't just pray to God and do nothing. He prayed to God and he set some guards in place. And I
that's right.
think that for me is a powerful combination of praying to God and calling on a power beyond yourself, resource beyond yourself, but also being responsible and taking action that you know you need to take. And it's a powerful combination.
Well, when you read some of those scriptures in Psalms where it says, I knew you in your mother's womb.
Yeah.
I knew you before I formed you.
Yeah.
And I knitted you together. You know, if you take a slice of your skin and look down to a scientific thing, and you can see how the skin is knitted together and so on and so
Yeah.
forth. And
Mm.
he the Lord knows us better than we know ourselves.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
when you and I have a conversation in private, we say perhaps, and what's my motivation behind what I'm really saying? But you don't know what that is, and I don't know what yours is. But the Lord knows.
Yeah.
He searches out the heart, doesn't he? He's that word search is not like, you're searching around your lounge room. He searches the innermost parts of your soul and who
Mm.
you
Mm.
are. And he knows exactly. The Bible says he knows how many hairs on your head. I don't have
Yeah.
very many.
Yeah.
But
Me
the
neither.
Lord, oh,
Yes. Yeah.
take it.
Look, it's wonderful, Michael. It's great talking to you. Before we go, if there was somebody listening to this, maybe they've had diabetes or maybe they've had issues with health, and they're wondering where do they start? What advice would you give somebody who was really earnestly seeking help?
Well, check it out on check out the doctors, Jason Fong, Dr. Chafee, and others that are there on YouTube, and do your homework and
Yeah.
don't rush into it. Take it a step at a time, learn more about it, and because if you suddenly go from eating a lot of carbohydrates to carnivore, uh, cold turkey, you can get things like oxalate dumping and gout and
Yeah.
stuff like that.
Mm.
So you sort of got to take it easy, but and talk to your doctor, of course,
Yeah. Mm.
and don't go off your medication. I still take some medication. I'm only taking
Yeah.
2 tablets now, but I was taking 15 after
Oh
the
my
operation.
God.
Now I'm
Yeah,
only now I'm only taking 2. So
yeah, yeah,
I'm going to see my heart specialist tomorrow, and
yeah,
hopefully, praise the Lord, that I'm off them tomorrow.
yes, yeah,
And so, yeah, just take it easy, and the the there's going to be trials along the way,
mm,
and there's going to be a bit of a bit of tribulation with your body and so on and so forth. But expect these things will happen to you, and sort of work through it. Get
mm,
just get through it, and
mm.
you will be surprised. You will
Yeah,
be.
yeah, that's wonderful, Michael. Yeah. Look, be easy to talk all day. We've got so much in common, but I've absolutely loved hearing your story, and I know it's a story that will bring inspiration and encouragement to others. So I appreciate you taking the time to be here very much.
Um, I did think about doing this, and I was absolutely terrified. It's not that bad.
Yeah, so look, if you're listening to this and you would like to come and tell your story, just contact me, and we'll make a time to have you on the channel and to share your story. I think stories are the most powerful thing we have. If
Mm,
I tell you my opinion, you can disagree, but if I tell you my story, that's powerful. And so, as I always say to people, keep telling your story because we
mm,
can win this one story at a time.
yeah.
Anyway, Michael, thanks very much. God bless you. And I look forward to hearing more about your journey in the future as things progress.
Thanks, Larry. Thanks. Been wonderful. Lovely. Thank you.